my dear, though I spend my days in conversation, please.
So I've kind of been in watching a weird kind of I don't know series of movies. I watched the documentary Going Clear, which is about Scientology, and that made me want to rewatch The Master, which is basically a retelling of L. Ron Hubbard and kind of him creating Scientology. It's kind of just made me thinking of like the cult mentality mindset. It just made me think of this movie. This is gonna be my review for Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. So this is from 2011. This got really good reviews when it came out. You know, it's kind of like an indie movie, independent movie. And it's Elizabeth Olsen's feature film debut. So she's the younger sister of Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen, the Olsen twins. Now she's a bit, more well known. She's been in the Avengers movies as the Scarlet Witch and all that. But this is her first breakout role, and that's kind of why people watched it, and everybody really liked it. So I wanted to give it a watch. The only movie I could really think of that kind of had similar themes to it about cults. So her name is Martha, and the movie's told in kind of fractured segments. So she is like a young girl, and she's in a cult, gets out of it, calls her sister, goes to live with them, her and her fiance, and fiance or husband, I can't remember, lives with them. Then like throughout, she's kind of having flashbacks, and you start to learn about what kind of happened to her. So, like I said, Martha is played by Elizabeth Olsen. Her sister is played by Sarah Paulson, and then Sarah Paulson, Lucy is her name. Her husband, fiance, is played by Hugh Dancy, Ted. So Martha's staying with Lucy and Ted, and they're like at a lake house. And so throughout, we're kind of learning what happened to Martha in this cult, and kind of what was all involved with that. And the leader of the cult is Patrick, played by John Hawkes. He's a really good actor, good character actor. And so there's not a ton to the plot. She's like, we never really learn why she went to this cult or how she got there. Just basically starts with her there at the beginnings of it. We know that, and then as we get these flashbacks throughout, we learn she kind of had more of a role later, getting other girls kind of involved. It's kind of a progressive thing. This happens with we learn that it happens with every girl, They get introduced one way to the group, and then eventually they'll get other girls involved. And it's kind of does a thing where she's with her sister Lucy and Ted, and then it'll cut to these memories kind of quickly. Sometimes you don't know if it's in the present time at the lake house with her sister, or if it's at the past with this cult. But it's just for a fraction of a second. You might not know, but then you learn pretty quick. It does get kind of interesting as the movie progresses. We learn some of the more vicious things and violent things that this cult started to do. And it's basically a character study of Martha and what happened to her in this cult, and she just having, an awful time trying to get over it because of some of the things that she saw and just how brainwashed she was. And it's kind of interesting. There's some decent performances. It's pretty slow. It's a pretty slow movie. I don't think it's that successful overall. Reading about it a little bit more after watching it, it's supposed to be kind of an allegory for the Manson family. Apparently, a lot of what happens in this film with the cult portion of it is very similar to what happened to the women in the Manson family. So, they get kind of brought into the group. There's like sexual stuff involved, and then eventually the leader, here it's John Hawkes' character, gets them to do like, first it's like stealing and thievery, and then breaking and entering, and then it turns into more violent scenarios. So I don't know if that would have helped me throughout the film, knowing that before that was kind of a similar allegory. I don't think it would. Kind of had this similar feel with The Master. I watched The Master the first time, not really knowing too much about Scientology. I knew it was kind of connected. But then I watched it again after seeing the documentary, Going Clear, learning a lot more about Scientology. It didn't really change my opinion as much. And so I think this is the same. I didn't know right off the bat there's going to be, parallels to the Manson family. Not knowing that, I don't think it'll change my opinion of how I would view it or, critique it or rate it. It's okay. Elizabeth Olsen's really good. John Hawkes is really good. I think I like him as an actor and other stuff, though. Everybody's pretty, I don't know, low-key's not the right term, because there's some pretty interesting parts with, Martha and her sister and Ted, the fiance, and it's just a really slow movie. I feel like a lot of people would not like this. I don't think this is like a very good movie for the general public. A big hit in the indie film circuit. I guess it might, I don't know a lot of people that get into cults, but I feel like this maybe can connect to a lot of people that have, like, been through abuse or, pretty traumatic events in their life. Dealing with that concept of getting over what happened to your past, in the past, and if it really traumatized you and affected you so severely as it has with Martha. So it's okay, and it has those moments. Some of the things are pretty strong, but overall I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. So it's kind of right in the middle. Has good parts, but doesn't really knock it out of the ballpark or anything like that. One thing that I did finally figure out, I'll say this isn't really a spoiler. I was always wondered where the name came from. It's a pretty long title. Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. It's actually the names that Elizabeth Olsen's character uses throughout the movie. So her name's actually Martha, because that's how she's talked to with her sister and stuff like that. And even at the beginning of the film, when she's at the beginning of the cult, they say her name's Martha, but then the leader, Patrick, says, well, you look like a Marcy May, so the cult calls her Marcy May. And then Marlene, I didn't really get where that came from until actually I read a little bit about it after I saw it. That's how all of the women at the cult answer the telephone. So there's like one telephone. It has a little bit of a role in the movie. But anybody that answers that phone, if it's a woman answering it, they say their name is Marlene. And so she says it one time. That's just like a little tidbit of info. But, so yeah, again, 2.5 out of 5.
Martha, my love, don't forget me. Martha, my dear.